Hi guys, Darth Malik here with my very first versus video, and I really hope you enjoy it. I spent quite a bit of time on it, and I've been fighting an allergy attack while I made this video, so I really hope you enjoy. And if for whatever reason, if some of the facts are wrong or something, please let me know. I did do a lot of research into these two characters, and I'm a big fan of both of them, and I hope you are too, and I think that it'll be a very interesting matchup. However, the conclusion may actually surprise you. So, today, we have Bastila Shan versus Opress. Alright guys, let's get to it, and I hope you enjoy. A human female born on Tal Raven, Bastila Shan, a hero of the Jedi Civil War, gained notoriety when in 3,957 BBY, along with her strike team, boarded the personal battleship of Darth Revan, who was the reigning Dark Lord of the Sith in Republic space during the era, and confronted the Dark Lord with her weapon drawn. However, before a battle between them could commence, Darth Malik, formerly Revan's apprentice, betrayed him and launched a barrage assault at Revan's ship from his end, which rendered Revan unconscious. And though at the time Bastila was dubbed the Jedi who bested and killed Revan, she herself never made such a claim, and actually took Revan back to the Jedi Council, who later erased his memory and gave him a new identity. Later, Revan and Bastila would meet back up on the planet Terrace, where Revan would attempt to rescue her from a Teresian underground gang known as the Black Vulkars. She would join Revan on a quest to unlock the secrets of the Starforge to stop Malik from conquering the Republic and destroying the Jedi Order. However, she would later be captured, tortured, and turned to the dark side by Darth Malik himself for a brief time before Revan eventually redeemed her to the light side and together stopped Darth Malik. Years later, when the smoke and dust of the Jedi Civil War subsided, she would marry Revan and give him a son. Opress was a male Dathomirian Zabrak, born on Dathomir, younger brother to the infamous assassin and former strong arm of Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, as well as being the former apprentice of Count Dooku and former minion of Asajj Ventress. Opress was a 2.18 meter, 145 kilogram solid hellish monstrosity that shook the Jedi Order upon his debut in combat, when he had single-handedly and brutally slain several Republic troops along with Jedi Master Hazley and his Jedi Padawan Nox. Not to be confused with Darth Nox, a title which can be received upon completion of the Sith Inquisitor campaign in Star Wars The Old Republic. With his termination in service to Count Dooku and Asajj Ventress, he went rogue, and with the guidance of Mother Talzin, went in search of his older brother Darth Maul. After rescuing Maul from a state of utter insanity, he became Maul's new apprentice, and along with Maul, cut down anyone who stood in their way, be they gangsters, bounty hunters, or even Jedi. During this time, he had also slain Jedi Master Adi Gallia, while simultaneously fighting off Obi-Wan Kenobi. During the time with his brother, they took control of the most powerful gangs in the underworld and even took control of the planet Mandalore briefly, before being discovered by Darth Sidious, and meeting in an inglorious end after a heated but one-sided skirmish alongside his brother that left Sidious victorious and Savage lifeless. Bastila is a young female who appears in her early 20s during KOTOR 1 and is in peak physical condition for her age and race. She is known as being both strong and agile and tactical in how she applies herself in battle. I can say I don't know for sure which lightsaber style she preferred, but if I had to guess, I would say she would have been performing Shi Cho due to its being effective against multiple targets such as droids and soldiers, as well as being the foundation to other lightsaber styles. Ataru, based on the fact that in the comics and in a lot of the artwork she is seen jumping and twirling her lightsaber and using the Force to aid her coming down to smash the target. And Shien, which can be used as a solid form for dealing with blast deflection and redirection. Though originally debuted as a klutz and sloppy according to Dooku, over time and during his career, He had proven to be an excellent duelist, favoring very heavy and brutal attacks, but without a lot of acrobatics, which would suggest to me that he was a practitioner of Gemso. He was also excellent in unarmed combat, and most physical attacks didn't even faze him, unless they were lightsaber wounds to the torso. He even bested Plo Koon and left him completely helpless until Anakin and Obi-Wan were able to intervene, and in unarmed combat still bested them both. He was able to also break through Asajj Ventress's and Count Dooku's force barriers at the same time with his force choke. All in all, to sum this guy up, he really is a freaking tank. He can't be moved except by the greatest of force sensitives such as Dooku and Sidious by the peak of his career, and even Dooku admitted he was becoming too great a threat too fast, which suggests to me that if he had survived the attack by Sidious, he would have been able to best Dooku, and even perhaps Kenobi, Windu, Ventress, and Maul himself. In fact, in terms of raw power, I would go as far as saying that he could have gone toe-to-toe with someone like Vader, at least in the physical sense. In my opinion, he truly is one of the most underrated characters in the Star Wars universe. Although Bastila originally appears in KOTOR using a single-bladed lightsaber, she later replaces it with a basic yet extremely practical double-bladed lightsaber. Inside the saber, she used her preferred yellow lightsaber crystal, as it reflected her class, the Jedi Sentinel, which she wore with pride, and as many Jedi during that time period considered a badge of honor and office. Savage Opress used a double-bladed lightsaber with a red crystal, which gave the weapon great cutting power. The hilt boasted two blade guards that would have helped Savage with using different moves without cutting himself, similar to the blade guard on the hilt of Count Dooku's saber. In a nutshell, this weapon really was outfitted and customized to maximize his effectiveness, and on top of this, assisted in maximizing leverage with his brutal strikes. He also wore special body armor, which helped prevent any serious injury from blaster bolts and explosives, which only made him that much harder to hurt. As a Jedi Sentinel, Bastila would have been able to do a lot of odds and ends that other Jedi could not do, such as slicing, computer repairs, security breaching, and other small jobs that could give her an edge on and off the battlefield, while also being extremely well-rounded in both her lightsaber and force capabilities. She was noted for her rare ability of battle meditation that could demoralize enemies, while rallying her own and increasing their overall battlefield performance, which meant either victory or defeat on many occasions. She could also use Force Sense, which allowed her to detect a person's alignment to the light or dark side, and like many in the Order, could use the Jedi Mind Trick, but with greater success than many of her comrades. She was also noted for being able to use Force Stun, a universal ability that could daze her opponents and stop them in their tracks. As a Darksider, she was able to draw upon the dark side to absorb life force, poison her victims, or choke them out. She was also able to use Force Lightning and still able to perform her battle meditation. As I stated earlier, Savage was tough, strong, tall, and pretty much immovable. This guy was a freaking wrecking ball, with the only real downside being that his blade work was somewhat basic, and he was a bit slow on his feet. Even so, I could only imagine how it would feel to piss this guy off and receive a full-body tackle assisted with the Force. Suffice to say, I'd think he'd snap me in half like a chicken bone. Savage Opress was also all about telekinetic attacks when it came to the Force. Force choke, Force push, to the same kind of level and degree that you could expect from Darth Vader. Just crushing his enemies if he had the opportunity. If he didn't do it with his hands, he did it with the Force. And while he didn't use a lot of different telekinetic attacks, the ones he used were very practical and were sound, and when needed or called for on the battlefield, were just perfect to go along with his style of combat. Now that bios are out of the way, let's look and compare these two warriors, starting with physical edge. Bastila is quick on her feet and can use the Force to assist her movements. She is in peak physical shape for a young female human, being petite yet toned. Savage is a Dathomirian Zabrak, fueled by both the dark side and witch magic. He is extremely muscular, tall, but rather slow in his movements. Both of these fighters are really in excellent shape, and it boils down to the concept of speed versus strength. But you have to consider a few things as well. Most physical attacks just don't phase Savage. Even when outmaneuvered, he shrugs off attacks like they are nothing and throws his victims around like freaking ragdolls. If he were to get a hold of Bastila, she would be in dire straits quickly, and while she can use the Force to assist her movements, let's not forget that Sidious did the same thing. And while he clearly outmatched Savage, he also outmatched pretty much everyone else for blade to blade in that time period. Let's not forget how Sidious tore through the Jedi that stormed his office, striking Kit Fisto down in seconds, and Kit Fisto was considered one of the Order's greatest swordsmen at that time. It took Sidious some time to subdue Savage, and even though Savage did have the help of Maul, he still lasted longer than anyone else that had ever fought Sidious during the Clone Wars, save for Mace Windu and Yoda. For this reason, I have to give the edge to Savage Opress. Next, we take a look at equipment, and this is pretty straightforward because both Savage and Bastila use double-bladed lightsabers. However, when looking at these two sabers, Bastila's is very practical, but of a universal design, where Savage's is tailored to his powerful fighting style. Add to this his armor that only helps him endure punishment even when it's not needed, while Bastila only wears a robe to increase agility and flexibility to a small degree, and I have to really give the edge to the big man on this one. I declare Savage Opress the victor in terms of equipment. The next thing we have to consider is Force powers. Both Bastila and Savage are excellent in terms of Force powers. They both have a strong affinity to the Force. However, I believe Bastila has a much wider range of options than Savage in this regard, with many more honed techniques through years of experience. However, her best techniques require a lot of concentration, so I'd expect it would end up being a battle of these two using telekinetic attacks almost exclusively at one another, or using the Force to enhance performance. Bastila's famous battle meditation won't even come into play in this fight. It takes her too long to get the concentration and time needed to gain the power in order to optimize it. I also think moves like Force Stun would have little to no effect on Savage, nor would the Jedi Mind Trick. I would expect Bastila would use her Force Speed in conjunction with leaps and pushes, while Savage would end up using his powers to block the pushes or redirect them, and try to use his Force Choke on Bastila, which from all indications in the past, with him using it, may very well be able to kill her with it. But we must also not forget that Bastila was witty, and unlike Savage, might be able to stun him with an unforeseen object, maybe a rock, something along those lines, to the back of his head long enough to get him off of her. I declare them equals in the Force under the terms of neutral ground, however. This is my theory on how the fight would play out. In my opinion, the battle would play out something like this. The two warriors would meet on neutral terrain, and I believe Bastila would take the fight to Savage first, opening up with her Ataru style, mixing in physical kicks and punches into the attacks, which would be guided by the Force to try and take Savage off his game. However, when she sees she cannot take Savage down in such a way, the real fight would begin, with Savage taking the initiative to Bastila, and it would be a clash of lightsabers, with Bastila dodging all of Savage's attacks, and he in turn parrying all of her attacks, until they came into a blade lock, where Savage would simply overwhelm Bastila. I believe it would resemble the fight between Darth Malak and Chaos and Darich in the Star Wars The Old Republic Return trailer. It would end up with Bastila trying to dish out an offensive, but being simply overwhelmed in the end and cut down by Savage. She might have the advantage in speed, but if Opress grabbed her with either his bare hands or with the Force, he would simply kill her within a matter of seconds. Now, don't get me wrong, Bastila was an excellent Jedi and an excellent warrior. Both on and off the field she had proven herself time and time again. However, with her aggressive style, and her Force abilities being the way they are, they're not practical for fighting someone like Savage Opress. That doesn't mean that she has terrible Force powers, she has excellent Force powers, but against a brute like this, with the might and endurance that Savage had, and the brutality that he brought to the field, unless she was able to quickly outmaneuver and get her saber into her foe, she would simply be crushed within a matter of minutes. I declare Savage Opress the victor, with a success chance of 3-1. And at the last, this is just my personal opinion, and I am only one person within the Star Wars fanbase. I hope you enjoyed this video, my very first Versus video, and I hope you give me your feedback down below. I plan to do more videos in the future, so if you like this video, please like and subscribe for updates and more Versus videos to come. Go easy on me, guys. If you weren't happy with the outcome, I do apologize, and if there's some flaws in my video, like I said, this is my very first Versus video, so kind of go easy on me here. But I do encourage constructive criticism, so if you want to put that, please put it down below. Thank you, and may the Force be with you. Darth Malak out.